Call this regular council meeting of the Village of Grand Manan to order. With us for prayer this evening is Pastor John Lamus from the Lighthouse Church.
All day, God, I've just been thinking about how much of a joy it is to be on this island with this group of people for such a time as this, with so many needs and urgent and unurgent alike. God, we need your wisdom. And so, God, I just keep coming back to the prayer of Jesus when he said, your kingdom come and would your will be done. And that's my prayer tonight, God. Would your kingdom come and would your will be done here on Grand Manan as it is in heaven. And so, God, we need your wisdom. Would you lead us in all things? In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Just a quick couple of opening remarks because it feels like we just had our May meeting like a minute and a half ago. First of all, it's June, so I just want to say congratulations to the graduating class of 2024 and big thanks to their teachers and staff at the school, and congratulations to their parents as well, because I'm sure they played a small role in it for most of them. Some of you were at there was an EMO presentation here on Saturday. It focused on Point Lepreau and wildfires. I think those are two things that the Point Lepreau is kind of one of those things that's always been sort of looming in the background. For me, it's good to know that there is a plan in place, that there is a notification process, and we fall outside the first two imminent danger zones. So once we get to that point, then that's, hopefully we never have to get there and find out what we have to do. But there is a plan in place, and so if anybody has any questions, you can reach out to anybody here at the office. The other thing, the wildfire piece, I think is particularly important this year, given all of the trees that were down this winter from the windstorms that we had and the dryness in the woods. I just would encourage anybody who maybe has dead trees on their woodlot or in the back of their property, it might be a good opportunity to get some of that cleaned up, just because it makes good fuel for fires. And there's pamphlets here about things you can do in your own home, in your yard, even if you don't have a woodlot. They left a bunch of pamphlets here at the office if you want to stop in and pick one up. The last thing I do want to say is that there is progress ongoing with the medevac plane. There is a plane secured. It either came into Canada last week or it will be in Canada this week. So things are moving along on that front. They feel confident that they will make the September deadline to have it here on the island. So just because we're not seeing things, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that has to go on to get it here and get it operational. So just so people know that progress is being made. It's very slow, but it does feel like progress finally. So with that, I will open it up and ask if there is a declaration of conflict of interest.
Part of 19.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 5, which is adoption of the minutes. We had the regular council meeting on May 6th and a special meeting on May 15th.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
You heard the motion from Councillor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Additions to the agenda. I have 2 just bills to pay under the general operating fund. The first is for safety source fire for fire department equipment for $8,757.25. And the second is Island Home Hardware, the May statement, for $6,520.49.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to add those additions to the agenda.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. So we have no RCMP here this evening. I will just say, with it being graduation, just encourage everyone to remember to be safe during that time. And coming into summer with school out, just remember to be cautious with kids out on the roads, biking and walking. I'm sure they'd have a much more brilliant report than that, but it felt like a good place to say that. So, under old business, we have the fitness center expansion project, CAO Rayner to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As most of you are aware, we've been talking about this fitness center expansion project for a while. We finally got all the pieces that we needed for the fundraising committee to be able to proceed. That includes some engineered drawings, a sprinkler plan, as well as ventilation plan. We have all that in place. We've moved Howard into a new location. We relocated the stuff from that room into another location. Everything's all ready to go. But we realized we never actually had any type of permission or motion from council to proceed. So typically during our year-end process, the accountant always says, well, where was your motion for that? So we figured we better cover off all the bases and just ask council for a motion to proceed with phase 1 of the fitness center project.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw. Question?
Is there a ballpark number on any of that?
I think the price to do the majority of the work in the room from the contractor was, I'm going to say 18. The sprinkler, because they've got to drop the sprinkler heads down into the suspended ceiling, I think that was 3. And the ventilation guy was like $675. So somewhere around the 22,000 mark. There'll probably be some extras, like we have to get the flooring that we've got, which is fairly insignificant, but.
Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 9.2 is the community center generator, CAO Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In your package, you will find a quote from Samson Equipment for a generator. This is something we've talked about for a while. Our current EMO plan has the fire station as our warming center, mainly because they have the backup generation, which they're able to keep the heat on, the lights and stuff like that. But as you can all imagine, in the event of some type of emergency, the fire department probably isn't the best location to have people coming in and coming out. So we would like to move our warming center here to the community center. Obviously, it makes a lot more sense. We've got a lot more room, a lot more resources with the gym for sleeping, washrooms, showers, all that stuff. But anyway, before we can do that, we have to have a backup generator in the event that we have an extended power loss. So I reached out. This is the second quote that I've got. Both quotes were almost identical. This one here is actually Michael Green Electric now has a dealership with Samsung Equipment for these generators. So this is a more local quote. And I've also, since the council package went out, I got a price from Mike to install the panel, because once the generator installed, they have to switch all the electrical over to the transfer switch. So there's an additional $5,500 onto that quote for installation. So I guess at this time, it's just, just want to throw it out there and see, as you can see on the quote, I believe the lead time on that is like 30 weeks.
So if we want one for this winter, we gotta have moved now, basically.
That's the thing, yeah. I might add that Kim Reeder with Resiliency, Public Safety, has a little bit of money. It's not a lot that we can put towards it, but we will be applying for an application with RDC, which they should. I mean, we've been pretty successful in the past to do up to 40% of that.
Questions or comments? Councillor Sturgeon and then Councillor Green. Sorry, I saw his hand move first.
Madam Mayor, it does make much more sense to me, I think, as it does to most of us, if not all of us, about this would be the ideal place to have it. It's not a cheap thing to do, but you know what, in the event of an emergency, you know, really, you don't consider such things. You know, you want everybody to be safe, you want them to be warm. And I'd like to move that we move in this direction for the generator, Madam Mayor.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Green, and Councillor Green has the first question. And then,
This is a diesel generator? Oh, sorry. Thank you. This is a diesel generator. Does this include the fuel tank and fencing and all that around it to secure the site?
It includes, the fuel tank is built into the enclosure. It wouldn't include if we had to put some type of fencing around it.
Given what has happened at Victoria Park with diesel fuel, I just, brought that up.
other questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. 9.3 is councillor travel expense. It's tabled from the May meeting. Councillor Sturgeon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First off, I'd like to say thank you to the staff for the homework that they've done on this matter. And Madam Mayor, I move it for us to table it for a month, because it was a lot of information. I wanted everybody to have a chance to look it over and do some good soul searching in that regards. Madam Mayor, myself, I feel that we should move in the direction of having $15 for breakfast, $20 for dinner, and $30 for supper, and have the mileage set at the federal rate -5.
Is that a motion?
I would move to that in effect, Madam Mayor.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder? Second by Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Question? Comments? Councillor Turner?
I'm more inclined to do like receipt-based. I don't know, I just feel more comfortable when we actually pay for something that somebody received and not just random amounts. I don't know, that's just my opinion.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Nay.
Okay, so let me do this again just because it turned out different than I thought. All those in favor, raise your hand and signify aye. Okay, all those opposed? 4 opposed, motion defeated. All right, 10-minute open session. No one, so we'll move on to delegations and special speakers. We have Librarian Sean Bethwick here.
Hello, thank you everyone for inviting me down. I apologize, I was supposed to be here at the last council meeting to present, but of course we lost Tanya that day and I wasn't able to attend. I'm here to represent the Library Story Walk, and since that time the Library Board has voted unanimously to rename this Story Walk the Tanya M. Brown Memorial Story Walk to honor Tanya's memory of someone who read weekly to children at our story time, and it'll be like Tanya was there present to continue to read to the present and future children of Grand Manan. This project has been supported by yourselves, the Village Council, and by a grant from the Fundy Community Foundation, as well as a donation from the Rotary Club of Grand Manan. So we now have the money and have purchased the materials that we need to have this story walk. This would be the first permanent story walk in all of the Fundy region. This would be a chance for Grand Manan to really lead in terms of literacy in New Brunswick and the Fundy region in particular. The other communities that are hearing about this now through the libraries They all know what this library intends to do. They all will be intending to proceed further with plans for installations of their own story walks. This will be the first one, and if you would like to help us install that. For those of you that haven't had a background on story walks in the past, there has been a temporary story walk installed here on Grand Manan for several years during the summertime at the Anchorage Provincial Park. Last year that was vandalized. The temporary signs were destroyed, a number of them, and we have been looking to move into purchasing a permanent product so that this would never happen again. In addition to having the ability to have multiple story walks year-round versus just one story walk that goes on during the summer reading club for the library and the Boys and Girls Club and that kind of thing, right? So now this permanent installation would mean you could perhaps have different stories monthly throughout the year. This is something that I'd like to just read a bit from the Fundy Community Grant application that I put in that was successfully funded from them on story walks. So not only are story walks a fun activity for individuals or families, but they offer health benefits to those who use them. Story walks require the user to engage in physical activity as they move from page to page along a set path. Each display is set along an easy walking trail that may span up to a mile in length. Users can set the pace that best works for them to read through all of the storybook pages. Additionally, story walks help the youngest participants by establishing positive lifestyle choices. Libraries are big supporters of early childhood literacy because they know the impact reading has on young minds. As a child creates positive family memories, they will begin building the foundation of important language skills which will carry through to adulthood. The project will increase literacy education on Grand Manan Island, increase physical activity for underserved groups, create positive feelings toward reading and literacy, increase opportunities for intergenerational activities, enhance multicultural opportunities, including language learning on Grand Manan Island. We know we have a burgeoning community. These stories can be translated. We could have one English and Ukrainian, Spanish, etc. beside that. So that's what I was getting at within the grant application. And this will help promote and foster tourism on Grand Manan Island for years to come. We all know that people are looking for things to do when they come to the island. Summer residents, you're here for a long time. These stories could be switched out. This is a great opportunity for people to have another something to do on the island. So I've submitted some materials with photos of what that would look like installed. So you would see the children and their parents or their grandparents going along and how it would look along a path so that, you'd be reading from story to story and that kind of thing there. And that would be a permanent installation. I've submitted the materials that we're purchasing and what would be entailed in an installation. And that would be digging approximately 22 fence posts. It's like inserting a fence post into the ground, and then filling that with either cement, which would be a preferred method, so no one could ever remove it, or you can use gravel, which would be a cheaper method, and they could be possibly pulled out, but it would be very difficult, and you'd have the option then to remove them or replace them as you wish at that kind of time. So what I'm here today is to ask for a commitment from the Village Council to install the 22 story walk posts when they arrive here on Grand Manan. And that should be approximately 6 to 8 weeks, and that would be, of course, on your schedule, however you would want to, whenever you would want to do that. But that's what I would like to ask the council to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All right, you're getting off easy. So when you say for us to commit to installing them, are you looking financial commitment or like physically getting them installed?
Physically installing
Okay.
them,
All right,
that's the.
that's what I just want to make sure
We don't
that
have
I'm
the ability
understanding.
to do that at the
Okay.
library,
All right.
sorry, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking for a comment from somebody. We're looking for a motion to proceed with this.
I was afraid you were looking for volunteers.
That's why I asked about physical, because, like, let's face it. Yes, I'm looking for a motion or some sort of consensus from the group that this is something. I see a lot of nodding, but I'm just making sure that I'm not misreading the nods around the table. So, Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons.
I think it's a great project. I make a motion that we get this done.
You.
That we would take on this project, digging the holes, putting them in place.
You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw. Question.
So I assume that our not our current staff here, but our public works people will be doing this then?
I would say,
Whether it's recreational or highways or whatever it may be?
I would say we leave it with staff to determine how we're going to get it done.
Okay.
Is that fair?
When do these have to be installed by?
They don't have to be installed on any timeline. That would be completely up to you. They will be here, delivered to Grand Manan within 6 to 8 weeks' time.
Were you hoping to have the storyboards installed for this late summer, fall?
That would be ideal
That's what
so
you're-
that we could still take advantage of some of the tourist season and then continue into fall and winter if possible.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
greatly appreciate it.
All right, new business, village car share, car charger, CAO Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a lot of papers. Sure. So part of the car share program, I think we've talked about this before. Not only did we receive the electric vehicle that we have stationed in North Head for the program, but all 4 locations, St. Stephen, St. Andrews, Blacks Harbor, and Grand Manan, also receive funding for a level 3 fast charger. So basically, the funding would supply all the money to purchase the fast charger, which is approximately $90,000. All we have to do is have it installed. So it sounds like an easy feat, but when you're talking a car charger that draws 140 amps, that's a huge, expensive cable. So I reached out to Michael Green, and I gave him all the literature on the car charger with all the specs. We went out and looked at a location. We come up with a location which to me isn't ideal. I would, if this is something we were gonna do, I would rather have it out front of the community center where it's visible. But because it's so expensive for that cable, we thought we could make a designated parking spot just down around the corner as you're headed down towards the arena, off to the right, to the left, which would basically get it as close as possible to the electrical room to make it as cheap as possible. So in your package, you can see that installation quote. I need my glasses. It's $27,000. So, again, this has been on the table for a while. Partially my fault why it just kind of sat there and didn't have any movement, but I'm finally just getting around to kind of getting the ducks in a row to see whether or not this is something we want to do. And the most important piece was our part, which is to have it installed. So here's the quote. I must say, staff has had some conversations over the last few days, weeks, about kind of priorities and where we're at and what we're doing. And I think we would probably all agree that if we had to prioritize, even though this is a great project and the island does need this infrastructure as it grows across the country. But where this ranks for us, I'm just not exactly sure it's that high. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Questions or comments, Councillor Sturgeon?
A couple of questions, really, Madam Mayor, in this regards. So it's going to be on here from the corner, I understand, Mr. CAO. And so, first off, security, I'm sure, would be one of the concerns. So cameras are a wonderful thing, I would think. And the other thing that I have to ask is, well, are we providing this service free, or is there a charge, or how does this work?
In order to use any charging station, whether it's a private charger, MB Power chargers, or this charger, you have to belong to the program. So like with MB Power, if you apply to the MB Power charging network, you get a credit card, basically is what it is. So when you pull up to, let's say, Route 776 Tire and Auto, they have one beside their building. You roll up, you take your little credit card, you tap it, just like you do your debit card, and it automatically charges your account. And I believe to charge your vehicle from completely dead to 100% with the MB Power charging station, it's $2. So very inexpensive. So so this is through Flow. Flow works the same way. Again, you have to be on their network. They give you the information that you need. You apply for them. They give you the card, and so when someone pulls in, you just can't unplug it and plug it into your car for free. You have to have the membership.
Councillor Layton?
I remember previously we read something or discussed the use of electric vehicles on roll-on, roll-off, and closed ferries. Is that something transport might be coming down with, where you won't be able to put an electric car on our ferry? It's a considerable investment, and if Transport Canada changes their guidelines considering electric vehicles, I don't know. I don't know if we want to make a big investment, and then Transport Canada comes along and says you're not allowed to go to Gramont in an electric car. So I don't know where that is.
There was a notice to mariners that was put out, Ship Safety Bulletin, probably about 6 months ago, about the use of electric cars on ferries. They were basically saying they were looking at it. There was no intent at this point, I don't think, to regulate, but it is obviously a concern. Talk to Coastal about that. I think you were part of that conversation as well, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Anyone else? Councillor Toll and then Councillor Green.
So this, to be put in, that right now we just have that car share, right? Which is charged now up at North Head. And that comes with when you use that car, that comes fully charged, and then you plug it in when you get back. Do they pay for that, or is that something that's through the car share and they make sure it's kept charged up for people?
That was kind of a joint effort between the village and Coastal Transport. Coastal Transport's basically paying the power bill.
Okay. So my question is, if we put one in here, is this open to the public, and do we have that much of a demand to spend that much money right now for something that might get used by a few people? And if they're coming with their electric cars, they can plug in where they're staying and get it charged just as well. I mean, I think this is a good idea, and I think we should get one in the future maybe. But you're right, we have a lot of stuff that we're trying to do this year. And maybe this is something that we could wait and put on for next year or something. I'm not trying to burst your bubbles, but anyway, that's all I have to say.
Councillor Green and then Councillor Turner.
Quite some time ago, Kerry Tire, Route 776, whatever it is, they started to do this. I'm not sure what their holdup is, if it's material or whatever, but I don't know what the market is. I don't think we'd need two of them in that close of a proximity if he were to go ahead, and I really don't think the village should be in a position of competing with private enterprise if he's doing that.
An option that we might have would be, we can pick where this is installed. So we could reach out and see if the owner wanted to work with us. We provide the charger if he provides the installation.
I think that is worthy of a discussion to see if that's doable.
Councillor Turner?
We would have to work out like do we retain ownership of that charger? You know, like what if something happens to it on his premises, like somebody backs into it or something? So, but I do think it's worthy of a conversation for sure.
Councillor Sturgeon?
Yes, Madam Mayor, a couple of questions, really. First off, this $90,000 value they'll provide it for us, basically we provide installation. Is that a limited time offer only?
This is all part of the Rural Transit Solution Fund. So this was approved back when they got the cars. I'm not sure how open-ended it is, if there's a timeline, but I can certainly reach out to Eastern Charlotte and Eastern Charlotte Waterways and ask them what the timeline is, if there's a cutoff.
Okay. And one more thing, Madam Mayor, I can appreciate Councillor Layton's concerns about the ferry, and we remember a news story when the PEI ferry got jammed up because of a electrical field. But however, as I understand it, the mandate is that by 2035, we're going to be all electrical, and so they got some things to figure out.
That's not gonna happen.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm one of those people that I hope I can buy a gas vehicle past 2035 for myself. But anyway, it can be hold off, but we can't hold it off for a long time. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Anyone else? So what I think I have heard is we're going to see if we can delay acquiring how long the funding is available for to get the charger. In the meantime, we're going to talk about a potential public-private partnership to see what the options might be there. It's probably also worth checking to see if there's any restrictions on that type of thing from the funding. And then we'll table this until we have some answers and come back. Is that a fair assessment of where we are on this project for right now? Okay. Are you sure, Councillor Layton? All right. You give me a look. I just wasn't sure what it was. All right. 14.2, C&D site, accepted and unaccepted materials. Councillor Green.
Recently, a small, previously partly burnt building had to be demolished, and due to the conditions that we operate our C&D site under, the material had to be removed from the island at I would guess, significant cost and tying up the ferry. We have two other buildings that were recently burnt that are very large, that if that material all has to go to Lawrence Station, the ferry is going to be inundated with it. I'm not sure what the smell like that would be on the ferry, and the cost of the demolition would be many times what it would be if they could go in and do it in a day. If you have to take the excavator up, fill 2 dump trucks or 2 trailers, they go away and come back, and then you take your excavator back up and fill 2 more trucks, it's going to become quite cost prohibitive. My question is, or my concern is that we cannot receive burnt C&D debris, but if the wood is not burnt, we can. I'm wondering how the chemical composition of wood changes after it's been burned. If this is a restriction that if we did more testing or different testing on our water, if we could get an exemption for that. If there's some way, I think we should explore some options. It seems strange to me that if they go and tear down the whole building green, I mean, it can all go. You char up part of it, now it's got to go away. That just becomes quite hard to manage, and I think we should take some action to see if we can get around that.
Questions or comments?
From my experience with the C&D, we have asked for exemptions for a few different things, and one of the most recent ask was for wooden pallets. and we were turned down. You can take a 1x6 piece of pine board and construct a pallet, but we can take those pine boards, but we can't take the pallet. So the burnt material, my very limited knowledge of that, because I asked the question back with the events in North Head with the Special K fisheries. Burnt material is basically turned into contaminated material because of everything that's in that building. When it burns, the smoke penetrates that burnt or charred wood, that it's sealed in there. So it has to go to a lined cell where they're able to treat the leachate for any contaminants. But again, this is just my Coles Notes version, but I can certainly reach out to the Department of Environment, who issues our approval to operate with these conditions, and ask if there's any way we can get an exemption under the circumstances with the amount of burnt buildings that we have for an exemption, but.
Pushed it twice. Yeah, so even if there was an acceptable method of separating, like a big house, if the yell burns, you take part of the yell that's charred and transport that, but the rest of the house, which is the couch, the sofa, all the other stuff that's in there, if that stuff that can be crammed into a truck and taken to the C&D site, like it hadn't been burnt, that's, I think, anyway.
Yeah, it's only the burnt material. What they did at the Special K was they separated it. So they brought us everything else that was on our approved list, anything that was burnt, they loaded into one truck and took it to, I think, Hemlock Knoll.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the operators there, and they, not at this, that tore the last building down, and I guess they weren't aware of the separation being possible. So, anyway.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll do an investigation to see what is possible on that and report back. Is that fair? 14.3 is the 2024 scholarships and bursaries. Graduation is coming up in a couple of weeks. The village traditionally gives 2 scholarships. So I'm looking for some volunteers to look at Councillor Greenlaw. She's excited about the scholarship committee. Councillor Sturgeon. Be really good if we had a third. And Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Thank you all for participating in Choose Your Scholarship. All right. Okay. All right. So that was easy. Moving right along. 14.4 Island Fest. Just a quick update for everybody. We talked about this, I think, at a meeting, last meeting, I think. We have done a list up of Island Fest activities. It's spread out. Instead of being concentrated around one weekend, we are spreading things out over the course of the summer, but things do seem to be sort of congesting isn't the right word, but there's a lot of things happening around the long weekend in August, just by chance, because I think that's when people are used to it. In the meantime, staff has developed a community calendar. Those events that we have so far are up on it. We will put a call out on Facebook for more events, and then once we give it a couple weeks, we'll put a flyer out in the mail. Hopefully a few weeks after the Canada Day flyer goes out, just to keep a separation there. And yeah, so if you go to our website, there's a little tab that says community calendar. It's already starting to be populated, so I think that's a really good initiative. Thanks to the staff for getting that under control for us, and I think it'll be good for the summer and going forward. So, and if you have any community events for our tens of viewers out there, please contact the office and we'll put them on the calendar. Anything else on Island Fest from anyone? Hearing none, we'll move on to 14.5, Graham and Ann Arena Zamboni repairs. CAO Rayner.
Okay, time to get serious. The Zamboni needs some love. We bought that used from Saunders Equipment back in 2010. And as most of you know, for 6 months of the year, every day, that gets a lot of use. So we knew this was coming, and we talked about it at budget time. We put a little bit extra money in the community center line item for this. So I sent the Zamboni up to Fredericton, up to Saunders, told him to be gentle, look her over and let us know what she needs. So they've given us a very detailed list of things that it could use. So I think in order to get that thing fixed up to hopefully get another 10 years out of it, this is a pretty good investment. I mean, we got 14 years out of it so far, and if it's only going to cost us, $13,000, that's only $1,000 a year, so it's pretty good for what we get out of it, the amount of use it gets.
Questions, Councillor Sturgeon?
Yeah, what was the original, I understand it was secondhand when we got it. What was the purchase price when we got it?
I wish former Councillor Cheney was here because he could rattle that number off. He's actually probably watching. If he is watching, my phone might go off with the number, but I don't know what it originally was.
Anyone else? Just to make the auditor happy, since we've talked about it once, would somebody like to make a motion to proceed with those repairs?
I'd make that motion.
You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder?
I would second.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. I turned my microphone off. 14.6, Participation, Community Fitness Month. Our recreation programmer, Caleb Richardson, is going to tell us about that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Participation is having a community challenge. They do this every June. It's an initiative to get communities active and also gives us the chance to win some prizes, some money. Last year was our first year doing this, and we just kind of put it out to the individuals, and we had a pretty good response. We were second in New Brunswick for a while, and top 10 in the country, but by the end of the challenge we kind of dipped down a little bit, but we were doing pretty good for a while. What happened was the app kind of tracked your movements, and the community with the most movement tracked won the prize. And so Salisbury, New Brunswick was first in the country and won $100,000. So it was just a fun way to be active, to kind of get the community involved. We enjoyed it. My wife and I even kind of had our own little competition. Every night we see who had the most move minutes. So it was fun, but this year it's a little bit different. They no longer have the app, so they're not tracking individual movement. Instead, they're tracking the community's events and the participants that are a part of those events. So we've put together some events, such as our walking club and things that we're already doing, and then added some hiking. And we're also looking to get other groups involved that already have active programs in place, like sports leagues or fitness classes that can go towards our challenge. And we're also putting an incentive out for people to participate. So for every activity you attend, your name will be put into a draw for a prize. We will have, for children up to age 13, for a gift bag worth $250, and a draw for ages 14 and up for a 1-year fitness center membership and $100 cash. So we're just trying to get the word out and add some more activities and programs, and encourage everyone to get involved. And so we're asking everyone to just follow Graham and Ann Recreation, and you'll be able to get updates on events, activities, and yeah, just have fun doing it. So I don't know if there's any questions or...
Questions or comments for Caleb? Okay, you're off easy. And you're sure I can't participate on my own because I'm not a team player?
So there is an individual aspect online where you can track your own individual activities. I haven't looked too much into that, but there is that option, but I still think it would go towards our community, so there's that option.
I'll try to be more team-oriented for the month of June. Thanks, Caleb. So now we're on to approval to pay invoices from the general operating fund. We have Go-Go Gymnastics for the summer camp, $13,293.75. Sullivan Sales and Service for trailer inspections, $3,583.12. Uline for transfer station baling wire, $1,912.29. Fitworks for the treadmill leg press for $9,171.25. Dutchman Contracting for the North Head Ball Field, $4,099.75. Griffin and Sons Construction for dump truck rental, $2,070. Saunders Equipment for the Zamboni repairs, $1,532.25. Safety Source Fire for the fire department equipment for $8,757.25. And Island Home Hardware for the May statement for $6,520.49.
Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion to pay these invoices out of the general operating fund.
You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sturgeon. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. 17.2 is the general operating fund. This is a payment with conditions for Four Seasons Sports for line striping, $57,171.10.
I'd make a motion that we pay this invoice of the general operating fund.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sturgeon. Question?
They just rolled off the boat at 3:30, so you may have seen a bright white line on one side of the road when you come to the meeting.
So these are the conditions, we won't pay them till they're done.
And I think, was it last year, we had a 15%, just in case anyone has any questions or any areas that they're concerned about that they didn't think was done properly, so.
But they generally like their check when they roll back on the ferry, as I recall.
In the past, I think we used to leave the check under the flower box in the entryway, and they used to get it on the way to the, but we've moved that location.
Any other Any other questions? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. From the General Capital Fund, I can never say Kubota Canada, did I say that correctly? For utility vehicles, $17,250. And Fredericton's one-stop trailer sales for the rec trailer, $9,305.25.
I'd make a motion to pay this out of the general capital fund.
You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question?
Question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
What utility vehicle is that?
We're basically replacing the 25-year-old lawn tractor that the boys have been using this whole time to drag and roll all the ball fields. We've basically destroyed it. So we're going with a utility vehicle this time instead of a lawn tractor.
So hold up better then?
Hold up better.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Motions to transfer funds. 18.1 is to transfer $125,000 from the General Capital Fund to our airport line of credit.
I'd make that motion.
You heard the motion from Councillor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder?
I will second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 18.2, transfer $100,000 from the gas tax fund to our airport line of credit.
I'll make that motion.
You heard the motion from Councillor Turner. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 18.3, transfer $416,037 from the general operating fund to our airport line of credit.
I'll make that motion.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sturgeon. Question? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. I'm assuming that takes care of our airport project-ish?
Almost.
Ish.
Yep.
Ish,
Yep, we
okay.
have one claim out.
18.4 is transfer $15,000 from the capital reserve fund to the general capital fund.
I'll make that motion.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. And transfer $7,995 from the capital reserve fund to the general capital fund.
I'll make that motion.
Heard the motion from Councillor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Closed session, we have 5 items. Property for the Dark Harbor Wharf repairs, and that was tabled. Property, doctor housing, financial, public works, financial, fire truck, and financial, airport.
I'd make a motion to move into closed session.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sturgeon. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
And 5, 4, 3.
I'll recall the regular council meeting in the Village of Grand Manan back to order at 9:30. We were in closed session to discuss 5 items. The first was property Dark Harbor Wharf repairs.
I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with Dark Harbor Wharf repairs as discussed.
You heard the motion from Councillor Layton. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. 19.2 was property doctor housing.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to that effect, if I may. Madam Mayor, I make a move that we purchase for doctor's housing was offered to us pending septic, water, and
Building inspection.
building inspection.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried. 19.3 is financial public works, and Councillor Layton needs to just step outside the door for a moment. I tell you, we're not getting along tonight, apparently. Okay, so we have the first motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we pay the invoice that was given by Silk Stevens regarding extra expenses, which is $2,690.61.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Thanks.
Madam Mayor, I'll...
just a
Oh,
sec.
sorry. Forgot.
Welcome back. Motion number 2.
Forget that one.
Was for a truck rental.
Oh, yes. Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we have a truck rental for Public Works for the duration of till fall.
Summer season. Heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 19.4 is financial for a fire truck purchase.
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion that we buy a new fire truck with the preferred bid.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Fitzsimmons. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried with one objection. And then 19.5 is financial airport.
Madam Mayor, once again, I would like to make a motion that we hire Lindsay Construction pending legal review for contract to oversee the construction of the new hangar.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Our next regular council meeting is July 8th, right here at 7:30 PM. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion? Thank you, everybody.